What is going on, everybody out there? This is episode 5 of the From a Fan's Perspective podcast, where we talk everything MMA and UFC news. This podcast, as you know, will be our fight recap and our fight prediction podcast. So we'll keep it kind of short and sweet. I'm your boy JB.
I'm your boy Mr.
And behind the camera, we got our boy Chris.
What's good?
So, first things first, I want to recap the weekend. I couldn't wait to come in and do this. Tyron Woodley. I'm not even going to talk about the UFC card yet. Tyron Woodley is the smartest man in the world. He is a genius. This dude found a way. This dude has found a way to make $2 million boxing a YouTube star after 4 losses in the UFC, and each one of those losses, I don't think he made half of what he made.
I actually think you got it. I think you got it backwards, though. I think that YouTube star found a way to make millions boxing Tyron Woodley.
But Tyron made money.
I don't think it was Tyron's doing. I think it was somebody else's doing, and Tyron just
Tyron finagled his way. That's a genius.
So, bro. I don't
because
think so.
You could do everything you want right now. Could you get a fight with Floyd Mayweather?
No, but Tyron Woodley is a professional fighter, and he was on a losing streak, so he just happened to be in that on the market for Jake.
How does Tyron?
That's like
everybody,
Jake Paul.
Bro.
Jake Paul might fight Sam Alvey next. If Sam Alvey gets kicked out of the UFC, Jake Paul will fight him.
No, Tyron Woodley is a special kind of guy, man. And
So Ben Askren's a special kind of guy too, then, right?
In a way, yeah. Yeah, in a way, but not to the degree. But see, okay.
They just happen to be on the market, man.
Ben Askren became a viral... Before Jake Paul, Ben Askren was a viral meme across the internet when Jorge Masvidal knocked him out. The world casuals knew who Ben Askren... Hold on. Let me get it there. The world knew who Ben Askren was, and I think that's why he got that fight with Jake Paul. No one outside the UFC community knew who Tyron Woodley was. No one watched
his... He's a rap star.
I was just about to say, no one's listening.
He's a rap star.
They listen to his music now. Let's Go Big is actually kind of hard.
He's a fighter. He's a rap star.
That's actually a decent song. I'm not joking.
I haven't heard it, but I'm not listening to no Tyron Woodley.
Tyron didn't have anything that said... let me gain the attention of casuals or people outside the UFC community. No, he was on a 4-fight losing streak. He was at the point where he gets retired and you move on with life. There's plenty of guys, we've seen that formula. They get out of the UFC, they're done. Tyron found a way to make himself popular. Not only make himself popular, he became the guy that the fans were rooting for against Jake Paul. People hated Tyron when he fought in the UFC. And to see the way it formed,
People still hate Tyron.
I don't think they do.
They do.
I think after the fight...
They do. It's just that he's an MMA fighter, and it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? That's how it is. But once that's over, he's still your enemy.
But see, Tyron, okay. In the 4th round, everybody believes Tyron had a chance to knock Jake Paul out. Some people say that the way Tyron fights, he doesn't let his hands go. That knockout would have never happened because he's just not that type of guy to keep. He looks for the one punch, right?
Yeah.
Jake didn't go down from the one punch, so Tyron kind of bags up. He kind of throws some feints, throw a couple jabs. Jake recovers. I think that was so genius of Tyron, even if it was by accident, because now he's wanting a second fight, and by not knocking Jake out, I think that kind of gives it some type of validity to give him that rematch. Do I think he gets the rematch? No. But I think that also Tyron had a big opportunity. Like I said, I've never seen Tyron get that type of publicity outside of the UFC when it came to casuals, because people really started looking up who Tyron was, and his music when it streamed, his Let's Go Big song, it hit in one day, it hit 250,000 views. And I've never seen a Tyron song hit 250,000 views like that. He had one with Wiz Khalifa. I've listened to a few. Well, the Wiz Khalifa song, I'm not gonna say a few. I listened to the Wiz Khalifa song.
You're a music guy, so that's acceptable.
But I think Tyron put himself in a position that like I was like obsessing over the results. I'm like, man, if this would have went this way, I wonder what would have happened if this would have. Imagine if Tyron would have knocked Jake out and started a YouTube channel. Like, I was thinking about, could he take Jake's energy and turn it into the Tyron Woodley show and become that viral sensation that Jake Paul is, because people started really like getting on the Tyron bandwagon, especially like during the press conference. People liked the way that Tyron talked. Like, he had Jake stuttering, and he was like, oh, who the fuck is this dude? He's like this buff ass black dude. He raps, he does all this stuff, and I was like, man, if he goes about this the right way, he might be able to start something for himself to where he generates a lot more money in the future. Maybe he starts doing fights against other celebrities and things. Like, could Tyron become that Conor McGregor outside of the UFC? And that's what I thought I started to see with that fight. That's why I said he was a genius.
You exaggerating. It's all just conspiracy, man. Like, if you look at it that way, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong. Tyron did not do this himself. Jake Paul chose him. If Jake Paul didn't want to fight Tyron and he fought somebody else, it would have been the same thing for that person too.
I don't think so.
Yes, it would have.
Ben Askren didn't have the type of publicity that...
Yes, he did.
I don't think
so. Yes, he did.
He did, but it was because it was Jake Paul fighting. They were like, who is this guy he's fighting? Tyron.
I think
that started with Tyron.
Didn't Ben make more than Tyron did?
I don't think Ben ever came out and said how much he made. He just said he made more than he ever made in the UFC. I don't think it was more than Tyron. But everybody was like, who is this? Like, I looked at podcasts and stuff outside of fighting podcasts, and people were talking about Jake Paul, and they was like, oh, he's fighting some wrestling dude. They didn't know who Ben was. People started finding out who Tyron took that opportunity, and he seized it, in my opinion, in those press conferences, in those altercations that he had backstage. Everybody knows Mama Woodley now. Like, it was a whole thing. And I was like, man, Tyron can really take this and really do something with it, in my opinion. That's why I thought Tyron was a genius for that. Now, as far as the fight goes, if you think that Woodley actually fought, like, no conspiracies for the fight, these guys were fighting. Jake won a fair and square fight, did like take out all the steroid use and all that stuff. Yeah, and you just talk about the fight. That was a letdown for me, because that's one part of the game that I don't like, is that I still believe Tyron when he says he's going to knock somebody out or he's going to win the fight. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because when he was on that 5-6 fight win streak up until getting the belt, I was right there with him when he was the underdog in every single fight except his first title defense. He was the underdog. Like, the dude beat Stephen Thompson, and in the second fight was still an underdog. And I was there, like, watching that, and I believed in him. So I think that kind of is still in my memory. But it kind of hurts, because I'm like, dang, I want to see Tyron do good. But at the same time, I was like, man, this dude might have something with this. Like, I don't know about now. You know, I think that if he gets the tattoo and he starts some more controversy right back up with Jake, I think there's something there. I think that people will be drawn to Tyron. I think they will.
Well,
let's go big.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell. But shout out to Jake, because he won that fight. You know, if he wasn't on steroids or PEDs or anything, he looked good. I mean, he kept his jab up. He had that jab cross to the body and then left hook up top. He kept throwing that shit like all night. It was landing though. He's way bigger than Tyron. I didn't know he was that much bigger than Tyron. When they got in the I was like,
Tyron's short.
Yeah, when he got in the ring, I was like, damn.
They got him listed at 5'9". He's like 5'7".
Oh yeah, he's got to be, yeah. But yeah. So we don't know what's next for Jake, but more importantly, we don't know what's next for Tyron.
Yep. Well, Jake did post update status, retired boxer, so maybe he just wants to sit this out. He has money. It's not like he needs to.
Man.
It's
He's
not like he
doing
needs
this
to
for
fight.
money, no.
And he tried to make it seem like it was, oh, I'm trying to help fighter pay and whatever. But I don't buy it. I think he just wanted to steal the show, make some headlines, and now I think he's kind of tired. But he's also about to have a baby. He said his girl's pregnant, that could be part of it.
Yeah, so
but
maybe taking like
I don't know.
a year
I don't
off.
really see him. I don't see him coming back unless it's against Sam Alvey. So
I think this is my last little thing on this. I think leading up to the fight or initially booking the fight, everybody was Jake Paul versus another MMA guy. I think once all the press conference, once all the altercations came, it became Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. And I don't know if that's good for Jake Paul more than it is for the guys he's facing, you know. So in the future, I think picking opponents...
It's bad for the guys he's facing because they're losing and they're basically putting a bad name on their sport.
But they're gaining, but it's not even about the sport. These guys are gaining their own fan base outside. No, it's not about that anymore, though. I think Tyron changed that because Tyron gained fans outside of the... If Tyron... That's why I said I was obsessing about the outcome. Because if Tyron goes out there and knocks Jake out in one round, there's a chance, I'm not going to say a big chance, but there's a chance Tyron becomes a YouTube sensation after that. Tyron becomes a guy that nobody outside the UFC really knew about, and outside the rap community, outside half the rap community, knew about... You know, versus Jake Paul. And people were going to be drawn. They were waiting to see that. And if Tyron knocks this guy out, they're like, oh my God, he can talk shit. He does all this. He had Jake stutter, and then he goes in there and looks like a beast, knocks Jake out. Who is this Woodley guy? And then he starts to channel, and he starts doing, you know, all type of stuff on you. Who knows what that path could have led to for Tyron? You know, I just, it's a shot in the dark, but I just, it made me think about that. And I was like, oh shit, you never know.
I guess, man.
But enough fairy tales and dreams. Let's jump over to the UFC where it really matters, man.
It was last thing on that. It's a sad day in MMA, man. It was a sad month in MMA. We had to go CM Punk retire.
He retired?
Another GOAT, Artem Lobov, retired.
But we had Anderson Silva.
But he's boxing now, so.
Yeah, and that's why I said it can't be too sad. We had Anderson Silva.
But yeah, the GOAT CM Punk retired with the 0-1-1 record. So, and now he's back in WWE doing this thing in AEW. So, yeah, sad month of MMA.
Artem should go over to wrestling. I think he'd have fans over here. But on another note, like I said, we can go ahead and jump over to where it really counts and where it really matters, and that's UFC. This past weekend was Vegas 35.
Yeah.
I think I say that right?
Yeah.
Fight night, yeah. So, is there any fights on there that you wanted to recap before I go into, unless we want to recap the same fights? But
I mean, I thought
some tough fights or anything that you wanted
the main event for sure. I like that. Edson didn't look bad, but he looked like the same old Edson. He didn't look like he made too many improvements. It was kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna do what I do, and when it doesn't work, you're gonna win. And that's what happened. Chikaze was able to get the finish in round 3, and I kind of thought that was what was gonna happen, but I wasn't sure just because Edson he looked like he was in really good shape. And like he was ready to go.
He looked good in the fight.
Yeah, and like I said, he didn't look bad, but it was the same old Edson. He didn't look like he made any type of major improvements that was gonna shoot him to the top. So I guess now we just gotta see where they put what they want to do with Edson, because like we said before, you can't give him a low ranked guy. You have to keep him in the top. But he's really not.
This is his 3rd weight class.
Exactly.
He just took a loss against a guy who wasn't even in the top 5. There's some questions. I don't think there's too much concern right now, but there's some questions with Barboza.
Right.
I thought that this fight kind of went how I thought it would go, but I thought it would go this way with either guy, and that's funny because I'm gonna say the same thing about the Kevin Lee fight. But Barboza, like you said, he was the same old Barboza, but Chikazian, man, he's too sharp. He's quick. He's sharp. He's crafty. It goes to the ground. The guy's threatening submissions.
Yeah.
He's too crafty, man, and I think that he just showed, he's just one level above. I don't know if Barboza gets back to where he was, and that means that he's better than Chikazian,
right? Or
if there's just levels, and that's where Chikazian is. I just thought he just looked better, and he got the knockout in the fight. So sucks for Barboza, but man, the dude fights anybody at any time, anywhere.
Who do you think Chikaze should fight next?
That's what I was thinking about. I was wondering if you I don't like to say throw him to the wolves because he's a wolf himself, in my opinion.
See, I think Max would be a
I don't want to
because they're both claiming to be the best strikers in the UFC. So that's
a bad fight for Max.
Let's try it.
I'm a big Max fan. I don't want Max fighting nobody. Well, no. I'm talking about as far as like risk versus reward.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's what I mean.
But when you're Max and you're the #1 contender, every fight is a risk. Every fight is a bad risk versus a reward if it's not a title fight.
Dude,
so
Max
you gotta
isn't
have
checking any
somebody
leg
gave
kicks.
you that opportunity. You have to give them the.
Max gonna go out
Max
there and
doesn't
not
really throw a lot of leg.
No, I'm saying he's not gonna check any from Chikaze.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I'm worried about. He's not gonna check because Volkan.
But that volume, man.
Dude.
That volume that's where people get lost. They get lost in the sauce when Max starts throwing and talking to you and moving out of the way of all your punches. And
Max gets ate up when those legs start.
See this debate right now. That's why I say
I'm saying no.
fight.
As far as the fight, I would love to see that fight. Don't get me wrong, but as far as being like a big Max fan, that risk versus reward is like stay away from that.
You have to take risks. You're gonna fight.
Not Max. I don't think Max does. He's solidified. Max is not a guy that has to take risks.
That's like saying, oh well, if you're the champion, you shouldn't fight the number one contender because you might lose. No,
that's
you have to fight these up and comers because
Max doesn't.
That's the spot. These rankings are made to shit.
Who do you think's the number one contender right now?
Max.
Exactly.
It's Max.
Exactly.
But
you don't fight until
for
you
the
get
belt though.
And
he's not
you wait.
fighting for the belt.
And
yet.
you wait.
He's fought Volkanovski 3 times.
And
it's time to
wait.
fight somebody else.
I agree with you.
They fought twice, right?
They fought twice, yeah.
Yeah, so they fought twice, and this would be the third time. And
I think Max won the first fight. I think Max won the first fight.
I agree 100%.
You wait.
But
you wait. You
go
to Hawaii.
You fight somebody else.
Put your
get
feet
that
up.
experience, especially if you think you're the best. Go out and prove it. Don't wait for nobody and be like, oh no, I don't want to lose my spot because now it's just making you seem scared.
I agree with the mentality.
So I feel like if they're gonna claim that spot, that best striker in the UFC spot, go out and prove it.
Look, this is when that fight happens. When Max fights for the belt, wins the belt.
Chikaze isn't in line. Chikaze isn't next in line for the belt.
Chikaze takes one more fight. He fights a guy in the top 5, and then he becomes the number 1 contender. I think that Chikazian's right there. I think if he takes a guy in the top 5, maybe who's number 3 right now?
Is it Zabit? Is Zabit still ranked? He's been out for 10 years.
Yeah. I gotta check that. See, this is something. We're still working on it, guys. We're still working on it. But we know. I think that Chikazian fights a guy.
Until you can say this man's name right.
Yeah.
Then
I'll never be able to say it. I still can't say Khabib right. Not even his last name, just Khabib. But so I think that if Chikazian takes a guy in the top 5 and wins convincingly, I think he can boost himself up to a number 1 contender spot. I think this fight really helped him a lot. Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. Interesting fight for me because I had Kevin Lee winning by decision. And the fight went kind of how I thought it would go. But Kevin Lee wasn't able to do what I thought he would do as far as the takedowns on D-Rod, and that was my gamble. So I was kind of going back and forth with this fight because of that. And that's exactly what happened. And D-Rod was able to get back up to his feet. He was able to stuff takedowns. And I didn't really see that coming. I thought Kevin Lee would be able to keep him down like he did. The first takedown when he actually got him down at the end of the first round, it looked good. He had control. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, they said Kevin Lee got tired is the reason why he couldn't get those takedowns anymore. It had nothing to do with like the size difference. Like D-Rod was
the way he took him down
was,
it didn't seem like it was very hard for him to get.
Yeah, that's why. So I didn't like that whole the whole size thing and stuff. So like it just came down to his cardio is what
and that's what happens a lot. It comes down to cardio a lot with Kevin Lee. He's just doing something wrong. He has all the tools that he needs to be the best, but there's just always something that he's missing. Every fight, there's always something he's missing. And it's always some excuse that, oh, well, I didn't have a full camp. Oh, I had staph on my chest. It's always something.
Yeah.
Get it together.
Yeah, man, it's tough because that was his first fight in over a year. Like he said, it was like 500 and something
And he's
days.
coming off of those 2 injuries with his knees,
so I mean, his cardio, maybe that was his excuse for that. I don't want to see him at 170, man. I know it's hard for him to make 155, but just the length difference, the size, you can just tell. You can look at him and tell he's not a 170 guy. He's just naturally, he's a guy who's 155, but he's big. He's got got the muscles for 170, but he doesn't have
those tweeners.
Yeah, he doesn't have that. Yeah, like a 165 or 160 guy. So I don't want to see him at 170 because I think from Rodriguez it only gets worse, man. There's guys who Rodriguez obviously showed, on the feet. I mean, Kevin Lee couldn't do nothing with him, and I didn't think he would be able
Daniel
to.
Rodriguez is really good off.
Yeah, I didn't think that Lee was
Really
gonna beat him on the feet. I just thought it would come down to the grappling, and I thought that Kevin Lee would hold him down and just ground and pound all day.
Yeah, that's why
I didn't think
my original pick was Kevin Lee by submission, but in my parlay I actually put Daniel Rodriguez by decision. So
so there you go. Yeah, that was. I think it was a safe bet. Yeah. But yeah, for who Daniel Rodriguez is, man, and like you said, he's only been fighting like 5 years now in the UFC. He's still fairly new. He looks good, man. He's naturally really good on his feet. He's a great boxer. He starts to develop more of his ground game, his takedown defense. He'll be a serious problem for a lot of guys in the UFC. So that was an interesting fight. It definitely answered a lot of questions. And I hope Kevin Lee can get it together. I think he should stay at 155 in my opinion, because I think even though he already fought Charles Oliveira, I think that 155 is wide open right now. I think that there's a lot of opportunity at 155, and I don't know why a lot of guys seem to be leaving 155. Like nobody wants the belt. Or maybe they're all just don't want to fight Oliveira, or they know something. Like I don't know what's going on, but or maybe maybe it's that Khabib effect. Like maybe after Khabib left, people are kind of like in the back of their heads knowing that like, oh, even if I become champion, I didn't beat the guy. Like, maybe a little bit of that, for a little bit. But so that was a recap for the those are the two main fights that I wanted to get into. Like I said, I know there was some tough fights.
Overall it was a really good card. It was one I was real excited for, and it wasn't the best card in the world, but it was a really good card. It was solid.
Okay, well, we ain't got to say too much after that. So now we'll go into our prediction side of the video, where this weekend we have Brunson versus Till, which is another fight night card.
Yep.
Was there any other fights on this card that you want to talk about before that fight? Because
I actually haven't even looked. Yeah, I haven't even looked too much into
Tom
it.
Aspinall is the co-main.
Yeah, and against Sergey Spivak, I actually like that fight. Yeah.
So that's gonna be a heavy, some heavyweights in there banging. Who do you have in that fight?
I got Tom Aspinall. That's my favorite up and coming heavyweight.
Yeah, I got him by
He's
knockout.
a beast. That dude's a beast.
I got him by knockout.
I got him TKO. I'd say TKO just because he's real good at getting takedowns, and he's also good off his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he can stop Sergey's takedowns and then get one of his own, and then end up either taking a back or just getting him in turtle and just beating him up.
I think it's gonna be hard for and I cannot say his name for nothing.
Who, Tom?
No, I can say Tom.
I'm just
no, the other guy
with you.
To actually get in close on Tom. His footwork is really good. He's really quick with his hands, and I'm high on him. So that's why I'm talking like I'm high on the Tom.
Yeah, Spivak is good too, but Tom Aspinall is on a different level. Really I think that's he's my favorite up and coming heavyweight at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would have to agree.
Who you got in the main event though?
The main event, right? You might hate me for this. I'm taking Brunson.
And that's who I'm taking too.
Oh, you're taking Brunson too?
Yeah.
I'm taking Brunson for the simple fact that Darren Till is nothing that he hasn't seen before.
Yep.
And I think that the type of fighter Brunson is exactly what Darren Till does not want to fight.
Yep.
Doesn't mean he doesn't want to fight Brunson, but that style of fighting is something that Darren Till does not want to fight, in my opinion. It's the worst matchup. It's terrible for him. I think Darren Till is a perfect matchup for Brunson. I'm rooting for Brunson. Brunson's on a big win streak right now. I think he's got 3 or 4 in a row. He doesn't fight that often, but neither does Darren Till. But Brunson has been capitalizing. He's fought 2 guys that were up and coming, like rising guys that the UFC clearly wanted to push, in Kevin Holland and Shabazian. He beats both those guys. Brunson beat somebody else, I can't remember, but and then he's fighting Darren Till. So I think that after this fight, this will be a big win for Brunson, and it pushes him into that conversation again to figure out who's going to be the number 1 contender and who's fighting Adesanya. So I'm rooting for him. You know, and I like Darren Till a lot. I just think this is a very bad matchup for him, and I'm actually gonna put money on Brunson. I think I'm gonna go 3rd round TKO.
I agree. And your twins fighting Khalil Roundtree Jr.
That's my boy, man.
He's fighting Modestas Bukauskas.
Really? I didn't see that earlier.
I got Bukauskas in that fight. I'm not gonna lie. Khalil Roundtree just waits too much. I think he could be really good, but he doesn't. There's just something that he just doesn't go. He don't pull the trigger, and I think that's gonna be his downfall in this fight.
Okay. Was there any other fights that you want to jump to, or?
Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is making his debut against Louis Vendramini. I want to watch it, but I don't really know too much about Paddy. But they say he's good, so we're gonna see. We're gonna check that out and see what's up. And then Jack Shore, the Wells guy, he's fighting also against one of the guys from the Tough finale, or not the Tough finale, but from the Tough series. And I don't think that's a good fight. I think Jack Shore is gonna dominate that one, so I'm definitely gonna be putting him in one of my parlays. He'll probably be the biggest favorite on the card.
Okay.
So overall, not too bad of a card, but not anything to be super hype about.
Like I said, this is a good little free card, man.
Exactly.
You can't knock it.
Yeah.
It's fights.
Right.
So there you have it, folks. This was episode 5 of the From a Fan's Perspective podcast.
5 times.
We made it to 5. We hope you guys enjoyed our recap and predictions. We can't wait to jump back in here after the fights and let you guys know what we think or thought about the fights. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Dislike if you didn't like the video. Send us some hate comments if you hate us. We appreciate everything. Just
check us out.
Yeah.
Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we're back again.
Big facts. Let's go big. And we out.